Commander Jack Stone stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, his eyes fixed on the main screen. Alien ships surrounded Earth's defense perimeter, their strange shapes unlike anything humans had built. Some looked like giant silver discs, others like spiky balls of metal. All of them were armed. "Status report," Jack said, his voice steady despite the tension filling the room. 53 alien vessels in formation, sir," replied Officer Tom Cooper from his station. "Their weapons are hot but not targeting yet." Jack nodded. 6 months ago, humanity had made first contact with the Galactic Council, a union of 23 alien species that controlled most of the known galaxy. At first, things had gone well. The aliens seemed friendly, curious about Earth and its people. Trade talks began, cultural exchanges were planned. Then the Council discovered what humans were. Deathworlders, they called us. Dangerous creatures, evolved on a harsh, deadly planet that made us unnaturally tough and aggressive by galactic standards. What humans considered normal, our strength, our endurance, our ability to recover from injury, terrified them. "Message from Admiral West, sir," said Communications Officer Ellie Reed. Her red hair was pulled back in a tight bun, her face pale but determined. "The Council's defense ministers are still refusing our calls." Jack's jaw tightened. 2 weeks ago, the Council's Department of Defense had launched a surprise attack on the Mars colony. No warning, no demands, just death raining from the sky. 3,000 civilians killed in minutes. "They're afraid of us," said weapons specialist Marcus Bell, a tall man with dark skin and steady hands, "so they tried to hurt us before we could hurt them." "And now they'll learn why that was a mistake," Jack said quietly. The Vengeance was Earth's newest and most advanced warship, built in secret even during the friendly first contact period, because humanity had learned caution through its own bloody history. The ship carried weapons and defenses beyond anything Earth had deployed before. Jack turned to face his crew. 20 of Earth's best, chosen not just for skill but for judgment, because this mission wasn't just about revenge. "The Council thinks they know what humans are," he said. "They think we're dangerous animals. Today, we start teaching them what we really are." "Approaching jump point, Commander," said Navigator Alan Ford. "Stealth systems functioning at 100%. Jack checked the tactical display. The alien blockade was focused on Earth's main, routes to the stars. They didn't know about the experimental jump drive the Vengeance carried, technology that let the ship create its own path through space, rather than using the established lanes. "Final mission briefing," Jack announced. The bridge crew turned to face him. The attack on Mars wasn't a decision made by the entire Council. Intelligence points to a faction within their Department of Defense led by Director Vask. Jack brought up an image on the main screen. A tall, thin alien with gray skin and 4 arms. Its face had no nose, just breathing slits, and 6 eyes, arranged in a circle. Vask pushed for the attack, convinced the other defense ministers that humans were too dangerous to be allowed to develop further. "Our mission is to find Vask, gather proof of who ordered the Mars attack, and bring them to justice." "And if they resist?" asked Marcus, his hand resting near his weapons console. Jack's eyes grew cold. "Then we show them exactly how dangerous humans can be when provoked." Ellie spoke up. "The Council doesn't understand us. They evolved on safe worlds with few predators. Most of them never had to fight to survive. Their history doesn't have the wars, the struggles that shaped us. Which is why we need to be careful," Jack added. "We're not going to prove them right by behaving like mindless killers. We are not animals, we are humans. We fight when we have to. We show mercy when we can. That's what they need to learn." Tom raised his hand. "Sir, I've been working with Artemis on translating more of the Council records we captured. It seems they classified Earth as a Class 12 death world, the highest in their system." The ship's AI, Artemis, spoke through the bridge speakers. Her voice was calm and clear. "Council records show only 3 other known Class 12 worlds in the galaxy. None have produced intelligent life before. We are unique in their experience." Jack nodded. "Which explains their fear. But fear is never An excuse for murder. The Vengeance slipped past the alien blockade using its experimental stealth technology, which bent light and energy around the ship, making it nearly impossible to detect. As Earth grew smaller behind them, Jack felt the weight of their mission. In his quarters, he looked at the pictures on his wall. His family on their farm in Texas, the graduation ceremony when he received his command, and a new one, a colony family on Mars, all dead now because aliens decided humans were too scary to live. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he called. Ellie walked in with a tablet. "Sir, we've plotted the course to the Council's military headquarters in the Rigel system. It will take us 3 weeks at maximum safe speed." Jack took the tablet and studied the route. "Have we received any updates from Earth Command?" "Yes, sir. Earth's main fleet is preparing defensive positions around all our colonies. The President has issued a final warning to the Council. Return to peaceful talks or face war." "Will they listen?" Ellie's expression was grim. "Intercepted communication suggests the Council is divided. Some members want peace. Others are calling for a full invasion of Earth before we can spread our violent nature to the stars." Jack set down the tablet. "They attacked us based on what we are, not what we've done. They didn't bother to understand us." "No, sir." "Well, they're about to get a crash course in human nature." Jack stood and returned to the bridge, Ellie following behind. The bridge was quiet as the crew prepared for the long journey into enemy space. Outside the viewports, stars streaked by as the Vengeance accelerated to speeds no human vessel had achieved before. "Set course for the Rigel system," Jack ordered. "Begin scanning for Council communication relays. I want to know everything they're saying about us." "Yes, Commander," Tom replied, his fingers dancing over his console. "Marcus, run another check on weapon systems. I want everything perfect if we need them." "Already on it, sir." Jack took his seat in the command chair, eyes forward on the stars ahead. This mission isn't just about revenge, it's about justice. It's about showing the galaxy that humans aren't what they think we are. We're not mindless predators. We're people who will defend ourselves when attacked. But we're also capable of mercy, of understanding, of peace. He paused, looking at each member of his crew. The aliens think they know what it means to face Deathworlders. They've never met humans before. Let's introduce ourselves properly. As the Vengeance accelerated into the darkness between stars, Earth's most dangerous ship carried with it humanity's message to the stars. We come in peace, but we will not suffer attacks on our people without response. The hunt for the aliens who ordered the Mars attack had begun. 2 months into alien space, the UES Vengeance moved like a ghost between star systems. The ship's experimental stealth technology worked better than anyone had hoped, bending light and energy around its hull. To alien sensors, it was nothing, but a shadow there one moment and gone the next. Commander Jack Stone stood in the ship's observation room watching the stars. The endless black of space used to calm him. Now it felt like enemy territory. "Commander," called a voice behind him. "We've found something." Jack turned to see Tom Cooper, the ship's technology expert. His eyes were bright with excitement. "Show me," Jack said, following Tom to the bridge. The main screen displayed a star system with 7 planets. One of them, the third from its sun, glowed with artificial lights. Artemis picked up encrypted communications, Tom explained. "This is a military outpost for the Council's Department of Defense, and guess who's there right now?" The AI's calm voice answered. "Admiral Krill, one of the key planners of the Mars attack, arrived at the station 3 days ago." Jack's eyes narrowed. Earth's intelligence network, human spies, and hacked alien systems had identified 3 main architects of the Mars massacre. Director Vask had given the order. General Trell had planned the attack, and Admiral Krill had led the ships that bombed the colony. "What's the security like?" Jack asked. Marcus Bell, weapons specialist, brought up a tactical display. 6 patrol ships, defense satellites, and a planetary shield. Something we can't handle. "We're not here to start a war," Jack reminded him. "We need information more than revenge. Ellie Reed joined them, her red hair now cut short for the long mission. "What's the plan, Commander? We can't exactly knock on the front door." Jack studied the display, considering their options. They could strike fast and hard, destroying the outpost. That would send a message to the Council, but it wouldn't get them closer to Vask. "Artemis," he said to the ship's AI, "what's your analysis of their patrol patterns?" A series of lines appeared on the display, showing the routes of the alien ships. "There is a gap in their coverage every 4.3 hours, Artemis replied. "It lasts for approximately 16 minutes. Jack nodded. "That's our window. We're going to slip in, capture Admiral Krill, and get out before they know what hit them." "Capture, sir?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Wouldn't it be easier to just take him out?" Jack turned to face his crew. "We're humans, not murderers. Krill will face justice for Mars, but proper justice, a trial, evidence, judgment. We're not here for revenge killings." "Besides," Ellie added, "a live admiral can tell us things a dead one can't." "Exactly." Jack pointed to a small moon orbiting the planet. "We'll hide the Vengeance here and use the stealth shuttle to reach the surface during the patrol gap. Tom, you'll stay here with half the crew. Marcus, Ellie, you're with me and the strike team." "What's our approach once we're on the ground?" Marcus asked. "Simple." Jack's face was grim. "We go in quiet, find Krill, and get out. No casualties unless absolutely necessary." 3 hours later, the stealth shuttle detached from the Vengeance and slid silently toward the alien outpost. Inside, Jack and 5 crew members checked their equipment. Their combat suits were Earth's most advanced, lightweight armor that could stop most energy weapons and amplify human strength. "Remember," Jack said as they approached the planet's atmosphere, "we're here for Krill, not a body count. Stun weapons only unless your life is directly threatened." The shuttle slipped through the patrol gap and landed in a forested area 3 miles from the outpost. The team moved quickly through the alien forest, where strange purple plants reached, toward a sky with 2 moons. "Different gravity here," Marcus noted as they ran. "About 80% of Earth normal. Gives us an advantage." They reached the outpost perimeter and paused. The alien structure rose before them, a series of silver domes connected by covered walkways. Guards patrolled the outer wall, carrying long energy rifles. "Ellie," Jack whispered, "you're up." Ellie nodded and activated her suit's special feature, AI, short-range cloaking device that lasted only minutes but made her nearly invisible. She slipped away toward the main gate. 2 minutes later, the gate's lights flickered and went dark. "She's in their system," Marcus said with a grin. "That's our cue." The team moved quickly through the disabled gate, stunning the confused guards before they could raise an alarm. Inside, Ellie waited for them by a terminal. "I've located Krill," she said, pointing to a map on the screen. "Command center, top level. But there's something else you should see." She pulled up a file on the screen, video footage from a council meeting. The team watched as aliens argued around a large table. "This attack on the humans is unjustified," said one alien with blue skin. "They have shown no aggression toward us." "You don't understand how dangerous they are," replied another, Director Vask. "Their planet should be impossible for intelligent life. Gravity twice the council average. Atmospheric pressure that would crush most species. Temperature swings that would kill any of us. And the wildlife. Predators everywhere. These humans don't just survive there, they dominate it." "That doesn't make them a threat to us," argued the blue alien. "Doesn't it?" Vask leaned forward. "A species that evolved on a death world will always be dangerous. It's in their nature. We must strike now while they're still confined to their system." Jack watched, his anger growing, as Vask showed the council edited footage of Earth. Hurricanes, volcanoes, lions hunting, bears fighting, all presented as if these were daily threats humans faced and conquered. "No wonder they fear us," Ellie said softly. "They think Earth is hell, and we're the devils who rule it." "Their fear doesn't excuse murder," Jack replied. "Let's move. We have 20 minutes before the patrol returns." The team moved through the outpost, avoiding alien guards where possible and stunning those they couldn't avoid. Their Earth-evolved muscles and reflexes gave them an edge even without their advanced technology. To the aliens, they moved unnaturally, fast. They reached the command center doors. Marcus placed small devices on the lock. "Ready, Commander?" Jack nodded. "Do it." The doors slid open silently. Inside, Admiral Krill stood with his back to them, forearms working on different screens. He was tall and thin like Vask, but with pale blue skin instead of gray. "Admiral Krill," Jack said, stepping forward. The alien spun around, his 6 eyes widening in shock. He reached for an alarm button. Ellie moved faster than the alien could, crossing the room in a blur and grabbing his arm before it reached the button. "That wouldn't be wise," she said. "Humans," Krill hissed, his breathing slits flaring. "How did you get past our defenses?" "The same way we'll get past every defense you build," Jack replied. "You underestimated us." Fear showed clearly on the alien's face. "Are you here to kill me? For Mars?" Jack stepped closer, looking directly into Krill's clustered eyes. "If we were the monsters you think we are, you'd already be dead." "No, Admiral. We're taking you back to Earth to stand trial for the murder of 3,000 civilians. And," Marcus added, sliding a data device into the command console, "we're taking all your files on Director Vask and the Department of Defense." Krill's eyes darted between the humans. "You don't understand what you're dealing with. Vask has convinced half the council that humans must be contained or destroyed. There are plans, bigger plans than Mars. Then you'll tell us all about them," Jack said. "Consider it your chance to make things right." As Marcus finished downloading the data and Ellie secured the alien admiral, Jack's communicator beeped. "Commander," Tom's voice came through, tense with urgency. "Patrol ships are returning early. We have 7 minutes, not 12. "Understood." Jack gestured to his team. "Let's move. And Admiral, I suggest you cooperate. You're about to visit a death world." The fear in Krill's eyes grew, but beneath it Jack saw something else. A dawning realization that perhaps everything the alien thought he knew about humans might be wrong. The Vengeance sped through space, leaving the alien outpost far behind. No pursuit ships followed. As far as the Council knew, Admiral Krill and several guards had mysteriously vanished during a system malfunction. By the time they figured out what happened, the human ship would be long gone. In the ship's secure holding room, Admiral Krill sat rigidly on a bench designed for human proportions. His 4 arms were bound with restraints that allowed some movement but prevented any quick action. His 6 eyes darted around the room, examining everything. Jack Stone entered, carrying a tablet and a container of water. He set both on a table between them. "Water," Jack said. "Our scientists say it's safe for your kind." Krill stared at the container but didn't move to take it. "You should have killed me." "That's not how we do things." "It's how we thought you would do things," Krill replied. "Vask said humans would show no mercy, that your evolution on a death world made you savage." Jack sat down across from the alien. "Tell me about Mars." Krill's breathing slits flared. It was a military operation against a potential threat. It was a colony of families, scientists, farmers, children. Jack's voice remained even, but his eyes hardened. 3,000 civilians murdered without warning. "Vask showed us your weapons," Krill said. "Your wars, your predators. Earth has more dangerous creatures than most council worlds combined. You evolved alongside things that would hunt and kill you. It made you into hunters yourselves. And that justified killing our people." Krill's upper arms made a gesture Jack couldn't interpret. The council believed a preemptive strike was necessary before humans spread further. Mars was just the beginning. There were plans for Earth itself. Jack leaned forward. "What plans?" For a moment, Krill hesitated. Then he seemed to make a decision. "Director, Vask has been building something. A weapon designed to target your planet's atmosphere, to make Earth uninhabitable for humans, forcing evacuation." Jack felt cold anger rising inside him, but kept his face calm. "And you supported this?" I followed orders. Krill looked down at his bound arms. Many in the council opposed Vask's plans, but he controls the Department of Defense. He convinced enough members that humans were an existential threat. Jack stood and paced the room. Here's what I don't understand, Admiral. Your ships have been exploring the galaxy for thousands of years. You must have encountered other dangerous species before. None like yours. Krill's voice grew quieter. Most intelligent species evolve on safe worlds, mild gravity, few predators, stable weather. Earth is an aberration. A Class 12 death world that somehow produced intelligent life. The only other species from high-class death worlds are all pre-spaceflight and extremely aggressive. So you assumed we'd be the same. Vask did. He showed us your entertainment. Your movies about war and fighting. Games where you simulate killing. History filled with conflict. Jack almost laughed. And you believe that defined us? Every species has violence in their past. What matters is what we choose to become. He tapped his tablet, and footage appeared on a screen on the wall. Human doctors treating alien refugees. Earth's first peaceful greeting to the council ships. Scientists sharing agricultural techniques that helped feed hungry worlds. This is also humanity, Jack said. We can be warriors when needed, but most of us prefer to build rather than destroy. Krill watched the images, his 6 eyes blinking in what Jack guessed was surprise. Vask never showed us these records. Of course not. They didn't fit his story. That we're monsters. Jack turned off the screen. Now, Admiral, you're going to tell me everything about Director Vask's plans, where he is, what defenses he has, and how to stop that weapon. 2 days later, Jack called his senior officers to the ship's conference room. Admiral Krill had been surprisingly cooperative, providing details about Vask's operation that would be crucial to their mission. Based on Krill's information and the data we recovered, Jack said to his team, we now know Vask is operating from the Council's central military station in the Arcturus system. His planet-killer weapon is nearly complete. Can we trust Krill? Marcus asked, suspicion clear in his voice. This could be a trap. Artemis has verified his information against the stolen data, Tom replied. It checks out. Ellie studied the tactical display showing the Arcturus system. The central station will be heavily defended, much worse than the outpost we hit. Then we need a new approach, Jack said. A direct assault would fail. What about using Krill? Ellie suggested. He's an admiral. If he contacts the station and says he's bringing in a captured human ship, they'd welcome us with open arms. Marcus finished, a slow smile spreading across his face. And we'd be inside their defenses. Jack nodded. It could work. But there's a problem. Krill would need to be free to communicate, which gives him a chance to warn them. Unless... Tom looked thoughtful. Unless he doesn't want to warn them. What do you mean? Jack asked. I've been monitoring his vital signs when we show him footage of Mars, of Earth, of human colonies. His stress indicators spike when he sees the children who died. I think he genuinely didn't know they were targeting families. Tom looked around the table. I think he regrets what happened. Jack considered this. Bring him in. Let's find out. Admiral Krill entered the conference room, flanked by guards. He looked at the gathered humans, his alien face hard to read but his posture tense. Admiral, Jack began, we're considering a plan that would require your cooperation, not just information but active help. To capture Vask, Krill said. Yes, you would need to contact the central station, tell them you've captured a human ship and request permission to bring it in. Krill was silent for a long moment. And if I refuse? Then we find another way, Jack replied simply. One likely more, costly in lives on both sides. You would not threaten me? Force me to help? The alien seemed genuinely confused. Jack shook his head. That's not who we are. Yet another way you defy Vask's predictions, Krill said quietly. His four hands made a complex gesture. I will help you, not because I fear you, but because I was wrong about humans. What we did to Mars, it was unforgivable. Why the change of heart, Admiral? Ellie asked, skepticism in her voice. Krill turned his 6 eyes toward her. Because you could have killed me but chose justice instead. Because your commander offers me water when I am his prisoner. Because you fight to protect, not to destroy. He paused. Mostly because I saw the records of Mars, the children. I have young ones too. Jack studied the alien carefully, looking for deception. He saw only what seemed like genuine regret. If you help us, Jack said, I promise you a fair trial when this is over. Your cooperation will be noted. I don't seek mercy for myself, Krill replied. But perhaps I can help prevent more killing on both sides. Jack nodded to the guards, who removed Krill's restraints. We reach the Arcturus system in 3 days, Jack told him. That gives us time to plan our approach. He turned to his crew. Ellie, work with Krill on the exact wording of his message. It needs to be perfect. Marcus, prepare your team for possible combat. Tom, I want Artemis to analyze every inch of that station's schematics. As the meeting broke up, Jack held back, watching Krill speak with Ellie. The tall alien moved awkwardly. In the human ship, ducking to avoid hitting his head on doorways designed for shorter beings. Do you believe him? Marcus asked quietly, coming to stand beside Jack. I think I do, Jack replied. But even if I'm wrong, this is our best chance to stop Vask before he can use that weapon against Earth. It's strange, Marcus said, going from seeing them as monsters to working with one in just a few days. Jack's expression was thoughtful. Maybe that's the real lesson here. They thought we were monsters because we were different. We thought the same about them. Someone had to break that cycle. Let's just hope we're not breaking it too late, Marcus replied, looking at the tactical display showing their destination, the heart of Council military power, where a weapon that could destroy Earth was nearing completion. Approaching Arcturus system, Tom announced from his station. Stealth systems at maximum. The UES Vengeance slowed as it entered the outskirts of the star system. Through the main viewport, they could see their target, a massive space station, orbiting the 4th planet. It looked like a metal spider with a central hub and 8 long arms extending outward. Dozens of ships moved around it, a constant flow of military vessels coming and going. The Central Military Command, Admiral Krill said, standing beside Jack on the bridge. The alien looked strange in a modified human uniform, but they needed him to appear official for their plan. The heart of the Council's defense operations. Jack studied the station. It was larger than any human construction, at least 5 miles across. Where would Vask be? The command center is in the central hub, Krill replied. The weapon research is in Arm 7. He pointed to one of the extensions. For 3 days, they had prepared for this moment. Krill had helped them understand Council, protocols, and security measures. In return, the humans had shown him more about Earth, about who they really were beyond Vask's propaganda. Communications ready, Ellie said. Admiral, it's time. Krill nodded and stepped forward. Ellie activated the channel. Central Command, this is Admiral Krill, he said in his native language, which the humans now understood through translation, devices. I am approaching and captured human vessel UES Vengeance with prisoners. Request secure docking and special containment teams. There was a brief silence. Then a voice responded. Admiral Krill, your ship was reported missing. What happened? I allowed the humans to believe they had captured me, Krill replied smoothly. Then I overpowered the guard and took control of their vessel. Their technology is impressive, but their security protocols are primitive. Jack raised an eyebrow at this lie but remained silent. Stand by for verification, the voice said. Tense minutes passed. Jack exchanged looks with his crew. If Krill's identity wasn't confirmed, or if the station detected their deception, they would be facing dozens of warships with no hope of escape. Finally, the voice returned. Verification confirmed. Proceed to Military Dock 3, Arm 2. Director. Vask has been informed of your arrival and wishes to inspect the human vessel personally. Perfect, Krill said after the channel closed. Vask will come to us. Too perfect, Marcus muttered. It feels too easy. Jack shared his concern. Agreed. They'll have security teams waiting. We need to be ready. He turned to his crew. Remember the plan, we dock normally. Krill leads a small group of us as prisoners to meet Vask. Meanwhile, Tom and his team access their systems through the docking port and disable their internal sensors. Once we have Vask, we extract with all the evidence of his plans. And, if things go wrong, Ellie asked. Then we move to Plan B, Jack replied grimly. Fight our way to Arm 7, plant charges on the weapon, and get out any way we can. The Vengeance docked smoothly at the designated port. Through the viewport, they could see armed guards waiting in the docking bay. At least 20 aliens with heavy weapons. That's a lot of firepower for a few prisoners, Marcus observed. Vask is cautious, Krill replied. He's never trusted anyone completely, even his own people. Jack, Ellie, and Marcus prepared to disembark with Krill. They wore simple clothes, with hidden armor underneath and restraints that looked secure, but could be released with a quick movement. Their weapons were hidden in compartments on the ship's exterior, accessible once they controlled the docking bay. Artemis, Jack said to the ship's AI, if we don't return in 3 hours, execute Emergency Protocol Alpha. Understood, Commander, the AI replied. The Vengeance will transmit all gathered intelligence to Earth and then self-destruct rather than be captured. Jack nodded. He couldn't risk the ship's technology falling into Council hands. Let's move, he said. Krill led them down the ramp, his forearms gesturing as he spoke to the waiting guards. The human commander and his officers. Take care, they are stronger than they look. The guards surrounded them, weapons ready. One of them, clearly the leader, stepped forward. Admiral, Director Vask awaits you in Security Chamber 12. He's most interested in these specimens. Of course, Krill replied. Lead the way. As they walked through the station's corridors, Jack carefully observed everything. The ceiling was higher than on human ships, designed for the taller Council species. The walls were a pale blue metal that seemed to absorb sound. And everywhere there were signs of military readiness. Weapons stations, security checkpoints, troops in formation. This place is a fortress, Ellie whispered. Stay focused, Jack replied quietly. Tom should be in their systems by now. They entered a large room with a long table. At the far end stood Director Vask, tall and thin with gray skin and 6 eyes arranged in a circle. He wore an elaborate uniform with symbols Jack didn't recognize. Admiral Krill, Vask said, his voice higher than Jack expected. You have done well to capture these humans. Thank you, Director, Krill replied with a small bow. It was enlightening to interact with them directly. Something in Krill's tone made Vask tilt his head. Enlightening? How so? They are not what we believed, Krill said. I discovered that they are dangerous Deathworlders who must be contained, Vask interrupted. Yes, we all know this. He turned his attention to Jack, the human commander. Tell me, how does it feel to be caught by a superior species? Jack met the alien's gaze steadily. I don't see any superior species here, just someone who attacked innocent civilians out of fear. Vask's breathing slits flared. Not fear, wisdom, preemptive action against an inevitable threat. He gestured to a guard. Bring up the displays. Screens lit up around the room showing images of Earth, its storms, volcanoes, predators. The same propaganda they had seen before. Your world created you to be killers, Vask continued. Every aspect of Earth shaped your species for violence. The gravity made you strong. The predators made you cunning. The climate variations made you adaptable. You are built for conquest. You know nothing about us, Jack replied calmly. You saw what you wanted to see. Vask moved closer. I know enough. Your history is filled with war. Your entertainment glorifies conflict. Even your greeting to other species came on ships designed for combat. Because we've learned caution, Jack said, not because we seek war. Vask made a dismissive gesture. It doesn't matter now. Soon, the weapon will be ready, and Earth will no longer be habitable for humans. You will be relocated to controlled environments where your natural aggression can be. He stopped suddenly, looking at Krill. Admiral, your restraint system seems to be malfunctioning. Jack felt a surge of alarm. Krill's 4 hands were free, the false restraints hanging loose. Not malfunctioning, Krill said quietly. I removed them. He looked at Jack. Now. In one smooth motion, Jack, Ellie, and Marcus released their own restraints. The guards raised their weapons but hesitated when Krill moved to stand beside the humans. What is this? Vask demanded, backing away. The truth, Krill said. These humans could have killed me when they captured my outpost. Instead, they showed justice, mercy. Everything you said they lacked. Jack's communicator beeped, the signal from Tom that the station's internal sensors were offline. It's over, Vask, Jack said. We have evidence of your lies to the Council, of your plan to attack Earth, of the Mars colony massacre. Vask's eyes darted between them, then to the door. Guards, kill them all. But the guards didn't fire. On the screens around the room, the images of Earth's dangers had been replaced by new footage, the Mars colony before the attack, families, children playing. Then the bombing, recorded by the colony's security systems. The brutality of it, the needless death. What is this? One of the guards asked, lowering his weapon slightly. The truth, Jack replied. About Mars, about humans, about what director? Vask ordered done to innocent people. Vask lunged for an alarm on the wall. Marcus moved faster than the alien could track, crossing the room in a burst of Deathworld-evolved speed and blocking his path. Don't, Marcus said. Ellie addressed the guards. We didn't come here for revenge. We came for justice. To stop a weapon that would kill billions, and to show the Council the truth about what happened at Mars. The guards looked uncertain. Weapons, still raised but not firing. This is sedition, Vask shouted. These are humans, Deathworlders, dangerous predators who cannot be trusted. Yes, Jack said, stepping forward. We are Deathworlders. We evolved on a planet that challenged us at every turn. It made us strong, resilient, but it also taught us the value of cooperation, of community, of protecting each other. He looked at each of the guards. You've been told only half the truth about humans. Let us show you the rest. The security chamber fell silent as the guards watched the footage of the Mars attack. Jack could see the impact it was having, the doubt in their postures, the lowering of weapons. This is human deception, Vask shouted, his breathing slits, flaring in anger. These images are fabricated. They are not, Krill said firmly. I was there, Director. I led the attack fleet. I followed your orders without questioning them. The Admiral's 4 hands made a gesture of regret. I believed what you told us about humans, but I was wrong. One of the guards, wearing a higher-ranked uniform, stepped forward. Admiral Krill, is this true? Did we attack a civilian colony? Yes, Commander Trell, Krill replied. With no provocation, no warning, we killed thousands of innocents because Director Vask convinced us they were a threat. Vask backed away, his 6 eyes darting between the faces around him. The Council approved the operation. It was necessary to contain the Deathworlder threat before it spread. The Council approved a military strike against human expansion. Krill countered. You never told them it was a civilian science colony. Jack's communicator beeped again. Tom signaled that the station's communications were now under their control. We need to move, Jack said quietly to Ellie. Tom's ready. Ellie nodded and stepped forward, addressing the alien guards. We didn't come here for revenge. We came to stop a weapon that would kill billions and to reveal the truth. Right now, my crew member is transmitting the evidence to the full Galactic Council, the Mars footage, the records of Vask's lies, and proof of the weapon he's building to attack Earth. The lead guard, Commander Trell, looked troubled. What weapon? A planet killer, Jack explained, designed to make Earth uninhabitable. Director Vask has been developing it in Arm 7 of this station. Vask lunged suddenly, pushing past a surprised guard and grabbing a weapon. He pointed it at Jack. None of you understand, he snarled. Humans are dangerous by their very nature. They evolved on a world that should have killed them. Instead, they dominated it. If we allow them into the galaxy, they will eventually dominate us too. Lower your weapon, Director, Trell ordered, raising his own. I am protecting the Council. Vask's voice rose to a screech. Everything I've done has been to protect our civilization from these predators. Jack met Vask's wild gaze calmly. Your fear made you the very monster you thought we were. With a cry of rage, Vask fired. Jack dove to the side, the energy bolt missing him by inches. Before Vask could fire again, both Trell and his guards fired their weapons. The Director collapsed to the floor. Secure him, Trell ordered two of his guards. He's still breathing. Jack picked himself up as Marcus and Ellie moved to his side. Commander, are you hurt? Ellie asked. I'm fine, Jack replied, brushing dust from his uniform. He turned to Trell. Commander, we need to reach Arm 7 immediately. Even with Vask captured, his weapon might still be activated. Trell hesitated only briefly before nodding. I will take you there myself. Admiral Krill, please come with us. Your perspective may be needed. The group moved quickly through the station corridors, now accompanied by Trell and several guards who had chosen to help them. Jack's communicator stayed connected to Tom, who guided them through the station using the schematics they had downloaded. The weapon control center is ahead, Tom's voice reported. But there's a problem. I'm detecting energy buildup. Someone's initiated the launch sequence. Vask must have loyal officers who are carrying out his plan, Krill said grimly. They reached a sealed door marked with warning symbols. Trell placed his hand on a scanner, and the door slid open to reveal a large chamber filled with complex equipment. Alien technicians worked at various stations, and in the center was a massive cylindrical device, pulsing with blue energy. Stop what you're doing, Trell commanded. By order of Central Command. One of the technicians, clearly senior to the others, turned in surprise. Commander Trell? What is happening? Why are there humans here? The mission has been compromised, Trell replied. Director Vask has been detained for questioning. Shut down the weapon immediately. The lead technician looked uncertain. We've already started the launch sequence. Director Vask said it cannot be aborted for any reason. That's not true. Krill stepped forward. Every weapon has emergency shutdown protocols. Activate them now. The humans have corrupted you, the technician replied, backing away. Vask warned us this might happen. Their Deathworld evolution gives them mental domination abilities. Jack almost laughed at this absurd claim. We don't have mind control powers. We just showed Krill and Commander Trell the truth. The weapon will launch in 5 minutes, a computerized voice announced. Final targeting sequence initiated. Marcus looked at Jack. We don't have time to argue with them. Plan B? Jack nodded. Plan B. He turned to Trell. Commander, we need to destroy this weapon now. It will kill billions of innocent people on Earth. Trell seemed to struggle internally before making his decision. What do you need? Clear the room of personnel, Jack replied. We'll handle the rest. Trell turned to his guards. Remove all technicians immediately. This is a direct order. Despite protests, the guards began escorting the technicians out. Some left willingly, others had to be physically guided. Once they were alone, Jack turned to his team. Marcus, place the charges we brought. Ellie, help me access the control system. Maybe we can still abort the launch. They moved quickly, Marcus attaching small explosive devices to key points on the weapon, while Ellie and Jack worked at the alien control panel. 2 minutes to launch, the computerized voice announced. The system's locked down, Ellie said in frustration. I can't override it. Jack turned to Krill. Admiral, any ideas? The alien moved to the controls, his 4 hands working rapidly across multiple interfaces. There's a manual override sequence, but it requires 2 authorized users. He looked at Trell. Commander? Trell hesitated only a moment before joining Krill at the controls. Together, they input a complex series of commands. Override sequence. Initiated, the computer announced. Administrative authorization required. It needs Vask's approval code, Krill said grimly. Which we don't have, Jack replied. He turned to Marcus. Are the charges set? Ready to blow, Marcus confirmed, but we'll have less than a minute to clear the area. 1 minute to launch. Jack made his decision. Everyone out now. We'll destroy the weapon and deal with the consequences. As they turned to leave, the doors slid open. A group of aliens entered, not guards, but what appeared to be civilian officials in formal attire. Stop, called the lead figure, a tall alien with purple skin. I am Counselor Wren, head of the Galactic Council. This action is now under Council jurisdiction. Jack tensed, prepared for a fight, but Krill stepped forward. Counselor, the weapon is about to launch. It will destroy all life on Earth. We must stop it. Wren moved to the control panel, examining it quickly. The security protocols required Director Vask's code. The counselor pulled out a small device. Fortunately, as head of the council, I can override any military command. With swift movements, Wren input a series of commands. Launch sequence aborted, the computer announced. Weapon systems powering down. The blue energy pulsing through the cylinder faded, and the hum of power died away. Jack released the breath he'd been holding. Thank you, Counselor. Wren turned to face him. Commander Stone, I presume? We received your transmission, the evidence about Mars, about Vask's deception. The full council has been in emergency session for the past hour. And? Jack asked cautiously. And we have much to discuss, Wren replied. About peace. About mutual understanding. About how terribly wrong we were about humans. 1 week later, Jack stood on the bridge of the Vengeance as it approached Earth. Behind them, 3 council ships followed, not as enemies, but as diplomatic vessels. Message from Earth Command, sir, Ellie reported. They're ready to receive the council delegation. Jack nodded. Inform them we'll be docking in 30 minutes. Admiral Krill, now serving as the interim representative of the council's defense department, joined him at the viewport. Your world looks beautiful from here, the alien said. Dangerous, yes, but beautiful. Most dangerous things are, Jack replied with a small smile. The peace negotiations won't be easy, Krill warned. Many in the council still fear what humans might become. And many humans will find it hard to forgive what happened on Mars, Jack acknowledged. But we have to try. The alternative is war, and neither of our civilizations wants that. You know, Krill said thoughtfully, Vask was right about one thing. Humans are shaped by their death world. It made you strong, resilient, adaptable. He turned his 6 eyes to Jack. But he missed what else it taught you. How to cooperate. How to show compassion. How to offer mercy even when it would be easier not to. Jack looked out at the blue planet growing larger in the viewport. His dangerous, beautiful home. That's the real lesson of Earth, he said. Survival isn't just about being the strongest. It's about knowing when to fight and when to make peace. He turned to face Krill. It's about justice, not revenge. As the Vengeance brought them home, Jack thought about how far they had come. They had set out to find those responsible for the Mars attack, to deliver a message that humans would not suffer such aggression without response. But in the end, they had delivered a different message entirely. That even Deathworlders could choose mercy over vengeance, understanding over fear and peace over war, and that choice, more than any weapon or physical strength, was what truly made humans dangerous. The Great Hall of the Council of Worlds had not seen such desperation in 10,000 years. Ancient beings from across the galaxy sat in their floating chairs, their faces showing the weight of countless defeats. The air itself seemed heavy, with fear. High Counselor Valdris stood at the center of the massive chamber, his blue skin pale with exhaustion. Around him, the greatest minds of 100 different species stared at holographic displays showing the same terrible truth. They were losing the war. The Void Swarm has taken the Kepler systems, announced General Thorne, his voice barely above a whisper. That makes 47 star systems completely consumed in the past month alone. A collective shudder ran through the council chamber. The Void Swarm was unlike any enemy they had ever faced. These creatures existed partially outside normal space and time, making them nearly impossible to fight with conventional weapons. They consumed everything, planets, stars, even the fabric of space itself, leaving behind only empty darkness. "Our finest warships cannot even scratch them," said Admiral Kesh, her tentacles writhing with frustration. "Energy weapons pass right through them. Our plasma cannons, ion beams, even antimatter torpedoes, nothing works." Valdris looked around the chamber at the assembled leaders. The Altair Republic, masters of energy manipulation, the Vegan Empire, whose technology could reshape matter at the molecular level, the Centauri Federation, who had perfected artificial intelligence beyond anything imaginable. All of them helpless against an enemy that seemed to exist beyond the laws of physics. "There is one option left," Valdris said slowly. "The Forbidden Archives speak of it." The chamber fell silent. The Forbidden Archives contained knowledge that was deemed too dangerous to use, sealed away by the Council's ancestors millions of years ago. "You cannot be serious," said Counselor Dex, his reptilian features twisted with concern. "The summoning ritual has been banned for good reason. It could tear apart the fabric of reality itself." "Reality is already being torn apart," Valdris replied. "The Void Swarm will reach our core worlds within days. We have no other choice." The debate that followed was fierce, but brief. In the end, desperation won over caution. The vote was close, but it passed. Within hours, the ancient ritual chamber deep beneath the council building was activated for the first time in eons. Strange symbols carved into walls of crystallized time began to glow with an eerie light. The air itself seemed to ripple as space and time bent around the chamber. "The texts are clear," said Elder Vex, the council's most ancient member, as he read from a tome that seemed to be made of solidified starlight. "We must summon the most dangerous ship from the warrior world of Terra. The legends speak of being so violent, so unpredictable, that they wage war even upon themselves." "Humans," whispered General Thorne. "The species that achieved spaceflight while still fighting wars on their home planet." The ritual began with 12 council members joining their mental energy together. The air in the chamber started to crackle with power as they reached across the galaxy, searching for the ship that would answer their call. Light exploded from the center of the chamber as reality folded in on itself. The sound was like the universe screaming. Then in a flash of blinding white light, something appeared. The council members stared in horror. Before them sat a small, battered ship that looked like it had been through a dozen wars. Its hull was scorched and dented, painted in dull gray, metal that seemed primitive compared to the gleaming, energy-forged vessels of the council races. Strange symbols were painted on its side, letters that spelled UES Defiance, in a language none of them recognized. This cannot be right," stammered Admiral Kesh. "This tiny vessel is supposed to be their most dangerous ship?" The ship was barely 200 meters long, smaller than most council shuttlecraft. Its design was crude, using what appeared to be chemical rockets and metal armor instead of the energy shields and plasma drives that civilized species used. Before anyone could react, a section of the ship's hull opened with a mechanical grinding sound. A ramp extended and figures began to emerge. The first was clearly the leader, a woman with short brown hair and wearing a dark blue uniform. Her eyes were sharp and alert as she took in the massive alien chamber around her. Behind her came more humans, all wearing similar uniforms and carrying weapons that looked frighteningly primitive. "Captain Riley of the United Earth ship Defiance," the woman announced, her voice carrying clearly across the chamber. "I don't suppose one of you can explain why we were just yanked out of patrol near Jupiter and dumped in what looks like an alien council chamber." Valdris stepped forward, trying to maintain his dignity despite the embarrassment of the situation. "I am High Counselor Valdris of the Council of Worlds. You have been summoned to help us in our darkest hour." Captain Riley looked around at the assembled aliens, then back at her ship. "Summoned? You mean you actually pulled us through space somehow?" "Through space and time, yes," Valdris admitted. "The ritual reached across the galaxy to bring us the most dangerous vessel from your world." A laugh escaped from one of the human crew members, a tall man with lieutenant's stripes. Most dangerous? Sir, the Defiance is a standard patrol destroyer. We've got maybe 200 crew members and enough firepower to handle pirates and smugglers. There must be some mistake, said Counselor Dex. This cannot be Earth's most powerful warship. Captain Riley's expression hardened. It's not. We've got carriers that could flatten continents and dreadnoughts that could crack moons. But the Defiance has something those big ships don't. What? Asked Valdris. We're expendable, Riley said simply. We're the ship they send when someone needs to do something crazy and probably suicidal. We're the ones who volunteer for the missions nobody else wants. The council members exchanged glances. This was not what they had expected. Perhaps, said Elder Vex slowly, that is exactly what we need. Over the next hour, the aliens explained their situation. They showed the humans holographic displays of the Void Swarm's attacks, star maps showing the progression of destruction, and tactical analyses of their failed attempts to fight back. Captain Riley studied the data with growing interest. These things exist partially outside normal spacetime? Correct, said General Thorne. Our weapons cannot affect them because they phase through normal matter. But they can affect our reality, added Admiral Kesh. They tear through our ships like tissue paper. Lieutenant Brooks, the Defiance's tactical officer, frowned at the displays. What about kinetic weapons? Good old-fashioned explosives? Primitive. Chemical reactions, scoffed Counselor Dex. We abandoned such crude methods millions of years ago. Sometimes crude works when fancy doesn't, muttered Commander Hayes, Riley's first officer. The humans continued studying the alien data, asking questions that seemed strange to the council members. What was the void creature's reaction time? How did they coordinate their attacks? What happened to the energy from weapons that passed through them? Captain, said Dr. Martinez, the ship's engineer, I'm reading some interesting energy signatures from these attacks. It's like the creatures exist in a quantum superposition. They're here and not here at the same time. Quantum superposition? Valdris had never heard the term. It's a principle of physics, Riley explained. Something can exist in multiple states simultaneously until it's observed or measured. If these void creatures are using quantum mechanics to phase through attacks, then maybe we need to collapse their quantum state, finished Brooks. The aliens looked confused, but Captain Riley was nodding slowly. We need to see one of these attacks in person. When's the next one expected? The Void Swarm is moving toward the Valdoran system, said General Thorne. They will arrive within days. It will likely be the final battle. If we lose there, the path to our core worlds will be open. Riley looked at her crew, seeing the same determination in their eyes that had carried them through a dozen impossible missions. Then that's where we'll make our stand. With respect, Captain, said Admiral Kesh. Your ship is barely a tenth the size of our smallest warship. How can you hope to succeed where our entire fleet has failed? Captain Riley smiled grimly. Because sometimes, Admiral, the most dangerous thing isn't the biggest gun or the strongest armor. Sometimes it's the willingness to do what nobody else is crazy enough to try. As the council members began preparations for what might be their last battle, none of them noticed the small smile on Elder Vex's ancient face. Perhaps the ritual had worked exactly as intended after all. The next morning, Captain Riley stood in the council's war room, staring at a holographic display that showed the galaxy's slow death. Red zones marked where the Void Swarm had already struck, leaving behind empty space where star systems once existed. The pattern was clear and terrifying. They're not random attacks, Riley observed, tracing the path of destruction with her finger. There's a strategy here. High Counselor Valdris nodded grimly. We believe they target systems with the highest life energy first. Populated worlds, busy trade routes, centers of civilization. Lieutenant Brooks stood beside his captain, studying the tactical data. How long have they been attacking? 3 years, replied General Thorne. It started in the Outer Rim territories. We thought it was just another hostile species at first. What changed your mind? Asked Commander Hayes. Admiral Kesh activated another display, showing a recorded battle. The humans watched in fascination as elegant alien warships engaged shadowy creatures that seemed to flow like liquid darkness through space. "Watch carefully," Kesh said. "See how our plasma beams pass directly through them? Our ion cannons have no effect. Even our most powerful antimatter weapons do nothing." The humans observed as the alien fleet fired volley after volley of energy weapons. Brilliant beams of light struck the void creatures and simply passed through them as if they weren't there. But when the creatures struck back, their attacks tore through the alien ship's energy shields like they were made of paper. "Fascinating," muttered Dr. Martinez, the ship's engineer. "It's like they exist in a different phase of reality." "Our scientists believe they come from what you might call a shadow dimension," explained Valdris. "They can interact with our universe when they choose to, but our weapons cannot touch them." Captain Riley paused the recording at a moment when one of the void creatures was attacking an alien cruiser. "There," she said, pointing at the screen. "Did you see that?" "See what?" asked Counselor Dex. "The creature became more solid when it attacked. For just a moment it had to exist fully in our reality to affect your ship." Brooks nodded. "The captain's right. Look at the energy readings during the attack phase." Elder Vex leaned forward with interest. "You see something we missed?" "Maybe," Riley said. "Your weapons are all energy-based, right? Plasma, ions, antimatter." "Of course," said General Thorne. "What else would we use?" "Matter," Hayes said simply. "Good old-fashioned matter moving. Very fast." The aliens looked confused. Admiral Kesh shook her head. "Kinetic weapons are primitive. We abandoned such crude methods millions of years ago." "Crude maybe, but effective," Riley replied. "Show us more recordings. I want to see every battle you have on file." For the next several hours, the humans studied battle after battle. Each one showed the same pattern. Alien energy weapons passing harmlessly through the void creatures while the alien ships were destroyed. "You fight like civilized beings," observed Dr. Kim, the ship's historian. "Your warfare follows rules, protocols. It's clean and precise." "Of course," said Valdris, sounding offended. "We are not barbarians." "No, but maybe that's the problem," Riley said. "These void creatures don't follow your rules. They exist outside your understanding of how warfare should work." Lieutenant Brooks pulled up the ship's tactical database on his portable device. "Captain, look at this. The energy signatures from our nuclear warheads." Riley studied the data. Nuclear weapons created chaos, random radiation, heat, electromagnetic pulses, and quantum fluctuations. Unlike the precise energy beams the aliens used, atomic explosions were messy and unpredictable. "Quantum chaos," Martinez said, understanding immediately. "If these creatures exist in quantum superposition, chaotic quantum events might collapse their wave function." The aliens stared blankly at the humans. "Think of it this way," Riley explained. "Your weapons are like trying to hit fog with a laser pointer. The beam passes right through. But what if instead of a precise beam, you used something that affects everything in an area? Like a storm instead of a sword," added Hayes. Elder Vex's ancient eyes lit up with understanding. "You believe your primitive weapons might succeed where our advanced technology fails?" "It's possible," Riley said. "But we need to test the theory." "The Void Swarm will reach the Valderan system in 2 days," General Thorne announced. "That will be our only chance." "Then we need to prepare," Riley decided. "Can your technology upgrade our ship without removing our weapons?" "We can add energy shields and faster engines," Admiral Kesh said. "But why keep those crude chemical explosives?" "Because those crude explosives might be exactly what we need," Brooks replied. Turman. Next day was a blur of activity. Alien engineers swarmed over the Defiance, installing energy shield generators and upgrading the ship's engines with faster-than-light capability. The humans watched nervously as their familiar ship was transformed. "Will our weapons still work with all these modifications?" Hayes asked Martinez. "The aliens are being careful not to interfere with our systems," the engineer replied. "They think we're crazy for wanting to keep them." Meanwhile, Captain Riley met with her crew in the ship's briefing room. 200 faces looked back at him. Her, all showing the same mixture of fear and determination. "I won't lie to you," Riley began. "This is probably a suicide mission. We're going up against an enemy that has destroyed entire fleets of ships more advanced than ours. But we have something they don't expect," Lieutenant Brooks added. "We have weapons they've never seen before." Chief Petty Officer Johnson, the ship's weapons specialist, raised his hand. "How do we know our nukes will work any better than their fancy energy weapons?" "We don't," Riley admitted. "But here's what we do know. We're human. For our entire history, we've found ways to fight. Enemies stronger than us, we adapt, we improvise, we find weaknesses where others see only strength." Dr. Kim stood up. "Throughout human history, the underdog has often won not through superior technology, but through superior tactics and willingness to take risks. The aliens fight by rules that have worked for millions of years," Hayes continued. "But these void creatures don't follow those rules. Maybe it's time to break some rules ourselves." "What's the plan, Captain?" asked Sergeant Lopez from the Marine contingent. Riley looked around at her crew. "We're going to do what humans do best. We're going to improvise, adapt, and overcome. And if that means ramming a nuclear warhead down a shadow monster's throat, then that's exactly what we'll do." A cheer went up from the crew. It wasn't loud or confident, but it was determined. These were people who had volunteered for the dangerous missions, who had chosen to serve on a ship that went where others feared to go. That evening, as the upgraded Defiance prepared to depart for the Valderan system, High Counselor Valdris visited Captain Riley on the bridge. "I must ask," he said quietly, "are your people always so willing to face certain death?" Riley looked out at the stars through the bridge's main viewer. "Not always. But when something threatens everything we care about, yes, we have a saying. Death before dishonor. Sometimes the only way to win is to be willing to lose everything." "Your species is very strange," Valdris observed. "Maybe," Riley replied. "But strange has kept us alive so far." As the Defiance jumped to faster than light speed, heading toward what might be the galaxy's last battle, none of the aliens noticed the small modifications the humans had made to their nuclear weapons. Chief Johnson had worked through the night, turning each warhead into something that had never existed before. If the theory was right, if quantum chaos could collapse the void creature's superposition, then the galaxy might have a chance. If not, then at least they would go down fighting in the most human way possible, with stubborn determination and weapons that no sane species would dare to use. The war for the galaxy's survival was about to begin, and for the first time in 3 years the outcome was uncertain. The journey to the Valdoran system took 18 hours at faster than light speed. During that time, the Defiance became a ship unlike any other in the galaxy. Alien technology merged with human engineering in ways that should have been impossible. "Captain," Riley walked through the corridors of her transformed vessel, marveling at the changes. Energy conduits now ran alongside the old electrical cables. Quantum processors worked next to simple computer terminals. The ship hummed with a strange harmony of advanced and primitive technology. "Status report," she called as she entered the engineering section. Dr. Martinez looked up from a console that displayed readings in 3 different alien languages. "The new shield generators are online, Captain. The aliens weren't kidding about their technology. These shields could probably stop a small moon." "What about our weapons?" Riley asked. Chief Petty Officer Johnson grinned as he patted one of the ship's missile tubes. "All nuclear warheads are armed and ready. I've made some modifications based on the quantum theory." "What kind of modifications?" "Each warhead now has a quantum flux generator attached to it," Johnson explained. "If we're right about these void creatures existing in superposition, the flux should force them into a single quantum state right before the nuke detonates." Lieutenant Brooks joined them carrying a data pad. "The aliens are still confused about our tactics. Admiral Kesh asked me 3 times why we're not replacing our primitive missiles with their antimatter torpedoes." "Because antimatter is still just energy," Riley replied. "Organized, predictable energy. Our nukes create chaos, heat, radiation, electromagnetic pulses, and now quantum fluctuations. If these shadow creatures can phase through organized attacks, maybe chaos is what we need." Meanwhile, In the ship's briefing room, Commander Hayes was addressing the senior staff. The holographic display showed the Valdoran system, a bright star surrounded by 7 planets, including the heavily populated world of Valdora Prime. Intelligence reports suggest the Void Swarm will arrive in 6 hours, Hayes announced. The alien fleet is already in position. Over 300 ships from 12 different species. 300 ships that can't hurt the enemy, muttered Sergeant Lopez. What makes them think we can do better? Dr. Kim, the ship's historian, cleared her throat. If I may offer some perspective, throughout human history, our greatest victories have come when we refuse to fight by the enemy's rules. When the British used organized battle lines, American colonists used guerrilla warfare. When navies relied on battleships, submarines struck from below. This is different, argued Lieutenant Morrison from the Navigation Department. We're talking about creatures that exist partially outside reality itself, which is exactly why conventional thinking won't work, Dr. Kim replied. The aliens have tried to fight these creatures like they would fight any normal enemy. But the Void Swarm isn't normal. Hayes nodded. The captain believes our best chance is to be unpredictable. Do things no rational military force would attempt. Like, what? Asked Chief Engineer Patel. Like using nuclear weapons in ways they were never designed for, Hayes said. Like ramming attacks. Like treating our ship as expendable if it means stopping the enemy. Uncomfortable silence fell over the room. Everyone knew the odds of survival were minimal, but hearing it stated so plainly made it real. Sir, said Lieutenant Morrison quietly, what if we're wrong? What if our weapons don't work either? Hayes looked around at the assembled officers. Then we'll try something else, and if that doesn't work, we'll improvise. That's what humans do. We adapt. 3 hours before the estimated arrival of the Void Swarm, Captain Riley received an unexpected visitor. High Counselor Valdris transported aboard the Defiance, accompanied by Elder Vex and Admiral Kesh. Counselor, Riley said, surprised. I thought you were coordinating the defense from the command station. I wanted to see your preparations firsthand, Valdris replied, and to ask you one final time. Are you certain about this course of action? Riley led the aliens to the bridge where her crew was making final preparations. The view screen showed the alien fleet in formation. Sleek, beautiful ships that looked like works of art floating in space. Look at your fleet, Riley said. Every ship is perfectly positioned, following tactical doctrines refined over millions of years. It's impressive. But, prompted Elder Vex, but it's also predictable. The Void creatures have fought your kind for 3 years. They know how you think, how you fight. They've adapted to your strategies. Admiral Kesh looked offended. Our tactics are based on mathematical precision and strategic theory. They represent the ultimate evolution of warfare. For fighting other civilized species, maybe, Commander Hayes interjected. But these creatures aren't civilized. They're more like a force of nature. How do you fight a hurricane? Asked Lieutenant Brooks. You don't try to out-organize it or outthink it. You either get out of its way or you hit it with something it can't predict. Valdris studied the human crew with growing curiosity. Your people seem remarkably calm for beings facing almost certain death. We're scared, Riley admitted. But fear is just another factor to consider. We've learned to function despite it. Your species is truly strange, murmured Elder Vex. In all my centuries of life, I have never seen beings so willing to embrace chaos. Chief Johnson chose that moment to run a final test of the weapons systems. The ship vibrated slightly as the missile tubes cycled through their arming sequence. What was that? Asked Admiral Kesh nervously. Just checking our nuclear arsenal, Johnson replied cheerfully. 48 warheads, each one capable of turning a small city into radioactive glass. The aliens looked horrified. You carry weapons of such destruction? Valdris gasped. These are actually our smaller nukes, Hayes explained. We save the planet crackers for special occasions. How can you be so casual about such terrible weapons? Elder Vex asked. Riley considered the question seriously. Because sometimes terrible weapons are necessary. The Void Swarm has already consumed 47 star systems. How many billions of lives is that? If our terrible weapons can stop them, then we'll use them. 2 hours before the attack, the crew of the Defiance gathered in the ship's main hangar, bay. It was one of the few areas large enough to hold all 200 crew members at once. Captain Riley stood before them, looking at faces she had known for years. These were her people, not the finest soldiers in the fleet, not the most decorated officers, but men and women who volunteered for the missions nobody else wanted. In a few hours, we're going to face an enemy that has never been defeated, she began. The odds are against us. The smart money says we won't survive. But here's what the smart money doesn't understand, she continued. We're not trying to be heroes. We're not trying to prove anything, we're just trying to do our job. Our job is to protect Earth and her colonies, called out Chief Martinez, even if Earth is 50,000 light-years away. Our job is to stand between the darkness and the light, added Sergeant Lopez, even when the darkness seems overwhelming. Riley nodded. The aliens summoned us because they thought we were their most dangerous ship. They were wrong about that. We're not the most dangerous because of our weapons or our technology. We're the most dangerous because we're willing to do what needs to be done, finished Lieutenant Brooks. A voice from the back of the crowd called out, "What if our plan doesn't work, Captain?" Riley smiled grimly. "Then we'll try something else. And if that doesn't work, we'll improvise. We'll keep fighting until there's nothing left to fight with." "And then?" asked another voice. "Then we'll fight with our bare hands if we have to," Riley replied, "because that's what humans do. We don't give up. We don't surrender. We adapt. We overcome. And we survive." As the crew dispersed to their battle stations, Elder Vex approached Captain Riley privately. "I have lived for over 2,000 years, the ancient alien said. "I have seen the rise and fall of civilizations, the birth and death of stars, but I have never seen anything like your species." "We're survivors," Riley said simply. "It's what we do best." "The ritual that summoned you was supposed to bring us the most dangerous ship from your world," Elder Vex continued. "I begin to think it worked exactly as intended." 1 hour before the Void Swarm's arrival, all ships in the system received the same message. "Unknown entities detected at the edge of the system. All vessels prepare for combat." The final battle for the galaxy was about to begin, and a small human destroyer was about to prove that sometimes the most dangerous weapon isn't the one that destroys the most, but the one wielded by those who refuse to give up. The Void Swarm emerged from hyperspace like a nightmare-given form. What had once been empty space suddenly filled with writhing shadows that seemed to absorb light itself. The creatures moved in patterns that hurt to look at, flowing through space in ways that defied physics. "Contact," announced Lieutenant Brooks from the tactical station. "Sensors detect over 2,000 individual entities. Mass readings are inconsistent." Captain Riley studied the main view screen, watching as the alien fleet moved into attack formation. 300 ships spread across space in perfect geometric patterns, their hulls gleaming with energy shields and weapon systems. "Beautiful," she murmured. "Captain?" asked Commander Hayes. "Look at them. Even facing annihilation, they maintain perfect formation. It's like watching a ballet." The alien fleet opened fire first. Hundreds of energy weapons lit up the darkness. Plasma beams, ion cannons, antimatter torpedoes. The space between the fleets became a light show of devastating power, and every shot passed harmlessly through the void creatures. "Just like before," Hayes observed grimly. The Void Swarm responded by flowing forward like a tide of darkness. When they reached the alien formation, the slaughter began. Captain Riley watched in horrified fascination as the shadow creatures tore through the alien ships. Energy shields that could stop planet-killing weapons collapsed instantly. Hulls made of materials stronger than diamond cracked like eggshells. "They're not just attacking," Brooks reported. "They're feeding energy. Readings from the destroyed ships show they're absorbing the power from the alien reactors. The life force, too," added Dr. Martinez. "Biosigns from the crews are being drained away. Within minutes, 50 alien ships were destroyed. The remainder tried to fall back into a defensive position, but the void creatures pursued them relentlessly. "Admiral, Kesh is calling for a general retreat," reported the communications officer. "Belay that," Riley ordered. "All stop. Prepare for combat." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of alien technology mixed with human engineering. The Defiance hung motionless in space while around them, the greatest fleet in galactic history was being systematically destroyed. "Captain," Hayes said, quietly, "perhaps we should—" "No." Riley's voice was firm. "We came here to fight. That's what we're going to do." She activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. You've seen what we're up against. The enemy is unlike anything we've ever faced. But remember, we're human. We've been fighting impossible odds since we learned to make fire." She paused, watching as another alien cruiser exploded in the distance. "We're going to do this the human way. Fast, dirty, and with complete disregard for our own safety. Johnson, I want nuclear mines deployed in a spread pattern. Brooks, plot an intercept course for the largest group of contacts." "Aye, Captain," came the responses. The Defiance began to move, accelerating toward the battle at a pace that would have been impossible with their old engines. The alien upgrades had given them speed, but they were still using human tactics. "First spread away," Johnson reported. 20 nuclear mines deployed on chemical thrusters. The aliens in the battle area detected the primitive rockets and were confused. After millions of years of energy-based warfare, the sight of simple, chemical propulsion seemed almost comical. The void creatures ignored the mines entirely, dismissing them as irrelevant to the battle. They continued their systematic destruction of the alien fleet. "Range to target?" Riley asked. 50,000 kilometers in closing," Brooks replied. "Detonate the mines." 20 small suns bloomed in space. The nuclear explosions created spheres of superheated plasma, electromagnetic pulses, and most importantly, quantum chaos. The organized energy fields that the void creatures used to phase through normal matter were suddenly disrupted. For the first time in 3 years of war, the shadow creatures screamed. The sound came through the ship's communication system as a howling wail that made the crew cover their ears. Several of the void creatures caught in the nuclear blasts became fully solid, their ability to phase through matter completely gone. "It worked!" shouted Brooks. "The quantum flux is collapsing their superposition." "Follow-up attack," Riley ordered. "All missile tubes, fire at will." The Defiance unleashed its full nuclear arsenal. 48 warheads streaked toward the enemy on trails of chemical fire. The void creatures, now understanding the threat, tried to destroy the incoming missiles with their energy attacks. But the human weapons were too simple, too primitive. The shadow creatures' sophisticated attacks were designed to disrupt complex systems. Against basic chemical rockets carrying atomic warheads, they were helpless. The nuclear explosions lit up space like a string of pearls. Each detonation created a sphere of quantum chaos that forced nearby void creatures into solid form. Once solid, they were vulnerable to conventional attack. "The alien fleet is reforming," Hayes announced. "They're targeting the creatures we've made solid." The surviving alien ships, seeing their enemy suddenly vulnerable, pressed their attack. Energy weapons that had been useless moments before now tore through the solidified void creatures. The tide of battle was turning. "We've got their attention," Brooks warned. "Large group of contacts heading directly for us." Riley watched as nearly 100 void creatures broke off from the main battle and flowed toward the Defiance. Their forms writhed with rage, shadows darker than the space around them. "Range to target?" 30,000 kilometers and closing fast. "Johnson, do we have any mines left?" "Negative, Captain. We're down to close-range weapons only." Riley made a decision that would have horrified any military academy instructor. "All ahead full. Ramming speed." "Captain?" Hayes sounded uncertain. "You heard me. Take us right into the middle of them." The Defiance accelerated toward the oncoming swarm of shadow creatures. The aliens watching from their damaged ships couldn't believe what they were seeing. The humans were charging directly at an enemy that had just destroyed half their fleet. 10,000 kilometers. Brooks reported. 5,000. 1,000. Now, Riley shouted. Johnson triggered the ship's self-destruct sequence, but not to destroy the Defiance. Instead, the nuclear reactors were set to overload in a controlled explosion that would create the largest quantum chaos field ever generated. The void creatures, sensing the trap too late, tried to phase out of normal space, but the quantum field was already forming, locking them into solid matter. The explosion when it came was unlike anything seen in the galaxy's history. The Defiance's reactors, enhanced with alien technology and human ingenuity, created a quantum shockwave that rippled through space-time itself. Every void creature within 1,000 kilometers was forced into solid form. More importantly, the quantum disruption severed their connection to whatever dimension they came from. The surviving alien ships, now facing an enemy they could actually hurt, pressed their advantage. Energy weapons that had been useless for 3 years suddenly became devastating. The void creatures cut off from their shadow realm began to die. But the battle was far from over. The main body of the void swarm was still intact, and now they understood the threat the humans represented. The remaining shadow creatures began to converge on the Defiance. "Damage report," Riley called out as the ship shook from the quantum explosion. "Hull integrity at 60%, Martinez reported. Main engines offline, we're running on backup power. Weapons, we've got 6 nuclear torpedoes left in the point defense systems," Johnson replied. Riley looked at the tactical display. Over 1,000 void creatures were closing in on their position. The alien fleet was scattered and trying to regroup. The odds were impossible. "Captain," Hayes said quietly, "we've done our part. Maybe it's time to—" "No," Riley interrupted. "We're not done yet. We've proven these things can be hurt. Now we need to buy the aliens time to reorganize their attack." She activated the ship-wide communication system one more time. "All hands, this is the captain. We've just accomplished something nobody thought possible. We've hurt the enemy. But the fight isn't over. We're going to hold this position. We're going to keep fighting, and we're going to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity, and everything we protect." The crew of the Defiance, battered but unbroken, prepared for what might be their final battle. Around them, the shadows closed in. But for the first time in 3 years, those shadows had reason to fear. The most dangerous ship in the galaxy was about to prove that sometimes the greatest weapon isn't technology or firepower, but the simple human refusal to surrender. The void swarm descended on the crippled Defiance like a storm of living shadow. Over 1,000 creatures flowed through space toward the small human ship, their forms rippling with rage and hunger. Captain Riley stood on the bridge, watching death approach. The ship's hull groaned under the stress of the quantum explosion they had triggered. Sparks flew from damaged consoles. The lights flickered as backup power systems struggled to keep them alive. "Contact in 30 seconds, Lieutenant Brooks announced, his voice steady despite the hopeless situation. "All remaining weapons locked on target," added Chief Johnson. 6 nuclear torpedoes ready to fire." Riley looked around at her bridge crew. These people had followed her into the impossible, and never once questioned her orders. Now they faced annihilation with the same calm professionalism they had shown throughout their careers. "It's been an honor serving with you all," she said simply. "The honor was ours, Captain," Commander Hayes replied. The first wave of void creatures reached the Defiance. The ship's point defense systems opened fire, filling space with streams of depleted uranium rounds. The solid projectiles passed harmlessly through the phased creatures, but they served their purpose. They forced the shadows to solidify if they wanted to attack the ship. "Fire torpedoes," Riley ordered. 6 nuclear warheads streaked toward the enemy. The void creatures, now understanding the threat, tried desperately to destroy the incoming weapons. But human engineering was crude and robust. The simple chemical rockets were too primitive to be stopped by their energy attacks. The explosions created overlapping spheres of quantum chaos. Dozens of void creatures were forced into solid form and destroyed by the follow-up attacks from the regrouping alien fleet. But hundreds more kept coming. "That's it," Johnson reported. "We're out of nuclear weapons." The void creatures swarmed over the Defiance like insects. Tendrils of darkness reached through the ship's weakened shields, probing for a way inside. The hull began to buckle under their assault. Then something impossible happened. From the deepest part of space, beyond the edge of the solar system, came a presence that dwarfed everything else in the battle. The Void Swarm's command entity emerged from hyperspace, a creature so massive it defied comprehension. It was the size of a small moon, a writhing mass of shadow and malevolent intelligence. The alien fleet, what remained of it, began to retreat, in terror. Even from thousands of kilometers away, the command entity's presence was overwhelming. This was the mind that controlled the entire Void Swarm, the intelligence that had orchestrated the destruction of 47 star systems. New contact bearing 007, Brooks reported, his voice shaking. Mass readings are... Captain, that thing is bigger than most asteroids. The command entity's arrival changed everything. The smaller void creatures attacking the Defiance suddenly stopped their assault and began flowing toward their master. Within minutes, the entire swarm had reformed around the massive creature. They're regrouping, Hayes observed. Why would they? His question was answered when the command entity began to pulse with dark energy. Reality itself seemed to bend around the creature as it prepared to unleash an attack that would destroy every ship in the system simultaneously. It's charging some kind of superweapon, Martinez reported from the engineering station. Energy. Readings are off the charts. Captain Riley stared at the massive creature on the main screen. In all her years of combat, she had never faced anything like this. No human had. This was a being of pure destruction, older than human civilization, more powerful than anything in the galaxy. And that's when she smiled. Captain? Hayes asked, concerned by her expression. Don't you see? Riley said, her voice filled with sudden understanding. It's too big. What do you mean? That thing is the size of a moon. It has to maintain its position in normal space-time to coordinate the swarm. It can't phase out like the smaller creatures. Brooks caught on immediately. It's vulnerable to conventional attack. More than that, Riley continued. It's so massive that even a small disruption to its quantum matrix could cause a cascade failure. She turned to the ship's communication officer. Get me Admiral Kesh. Emergency channel. The alien admiral's face appeared on the screen, showing the strain of the ongoing battle. Captain Riley, you must retreat immediately. That entity is beyond anything we can fight. Admiral, I need you to listen very carefully, Riley said. That creature is maintaining the psychic link that controls the entire swarm. If we can disrupt it, the smaller creatures will lose coordination. Kesh finished, understanding immediately. But how? Our most powerful weapons barely scratched. The smaller ones. We're going to ram it. Silence filled the communication channel. Even the background noise of the alien ship's bridge seemed to stop. That's suicide, Kesh said finally. Maybe, Riley admitted. But it's also the only chance we have. I need your fleet to create a distraction. Draw the smaller creatures away from the command entity. Captain, your ship is already damaged. You'll never survive a collision with something that massive. Riley looked around at her crew. She saw fear in their eyes, but also determination. They understood what she was asking of them. Admiral, 3 years ago that thing began destroying your civilization. Today we stop it. Will you help us? After a moment that felt like eternity, Admiral Kesh nodded. All ships, attack formation. Draw the swarm away from the command entity. Give the humans a clear approach. The remaining alien fleet, badly outnumbered and outgunned, launched a desperate assault on the Void Swarm. Their energy weapons lit up space as they engaged the smaller creatures, pulling them away from their master. Martinez, what's our engine status? Riley asked. Main engines are offline, but I can jury-rig the maneuvering thrusters for one final burn. We'll have maybe 60 seconds of thrust. That'll have to be enough. Johnson, prepare all remaining explosives for manual detonation. Captain, we don't have any nuclear weapons left. Then we'll use what we have. The ship's reactor, the emergency charges, everything. Turn the entire Defiance into one giant bomb. As the crew prepared for their final mission, Dr. Kim approached the captain. Riley, there's something you should know. I've been studying the Quantum readings from our previous attacks. What is it? The command entity isn't just controlling the swarm, it's also maintaining the dimensional gateway that allows them to exist in our reality. If we can destabilize its quantum matrix, we could send the entire swarm back to whatever dimension they came from. Riley finished. It's possible, but the explosion would have to occur at exactly the right moment, in exactly the right place. Riley nodded grimly. Then we better not miss. The Defiance began its final approach. The battered destroyer limped through space on failing engines, heading directly toward the massive command entity. The creature, focused on charging its superweapon, didn't notice the small ship until it was too late. 10 kilometers in closing, Brooks reported. 5 kilometers. 1 kilometer. The command entity finally detected the approaching threat and turned its attention toward the Defiance. Tendrils of darkness reached out to crush the small ship, but Riley had timed their approach perfectly. The alien fleet's distraction had worked. Most of the smaller creatures were engaged elsewhere. Now! Riley shouted. Martinez triggered the reactor overload. Johnson detonated every explosive charge on the ship. The Defiance, enhanced with alien technology and human determination, became a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The explosion tore a hole in space-time itself. The command entity, caught in the quantum cascade, let out a scream that echoed across dimensions. Its massive form began to collapse as the dimensional gateway destabilized. One by one, the smaller void creatures throughout the system began to fade away, pulled back to their shadow dimension as the psychic link that sustained them was severed. Within moments, the entire swarm had vanished. The war was over. In the aftermath, as rescue ships searched for survivors from the Defiance, High Counselor Valdra stood in the council chambers, staring at a holographic display showing the empty space where the void swarm had been. 200 humans, he said quietly to Elder Vex. 200 beings from a primitive world saved our entire civilization. Perhaps, Elder Vex replied, we need to reconsider what we mean by primitive. 3 days later, the few survivors from the Defiance were recovered from an escape pod. Captain Riley, badly injured but alive, was brought before the Council of Worlds. How? Asked Valdris. How did you know your plan would work? Riley, bandaged and exhausted, managed a small smile. We didn't, but that's never stopped humans before. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is be willing to try something that no rational being would attempt. The galaxy was safe. The void swarm was gone. And somewhere in the records of the Council of Worlds, a new entry was made. The most dangerous ship in the galaxy is not the one with the biggest guns or the strongest armor. It is the one crewed by beings who refuse to accept that anything is impossible. Humanity had saved the galaxy not through superior technology, but through the simple willingness to do what needed to be done, no matter the cost.